Hi, everybody. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Ingrid, for the warm welcome. And let me just quickly share my presentation. So here we go. I hope you can all see it.
Yes, we can see it. It's perfect.
Perfect. Thank you. So again, good afternoon, everyone. My name, as you already, Lisa told you, is Denise. I'm working for the Bauverbände NRW, an umbrella association of the construction sector in North Rhine-Westphalia. And today I want to share with you what we have learned from engaging with vocational training systems in the African construction sectors. Now I think my internet is slow. I have to wait until it's... Okay, which slide do you see? Do you see still see the first slide?
Okay. We still see the first slide.
Okay, sorry. It's probably the internet connection.
No worries.
Okay, now I think it worked. Second slide.
Yes.
Okay, so a quick word on context. North Rhine-Westphalia is Germany's most densely populated state and home to 18.1 million people, and major cities like Cologne, Bonn, Dortmund, and Münster make it one of the most economically active regions in Germany. So now, before I dive in, let me just briefly introduce our organization so you understand where we are coming from. So Bauverbände NRW is basically the collective voice of approximately 4,500 construction companies in North Rhine-Westphalia, and we work at the intersection of law, technology, labor relations, and vocational training. Our members work mostly in civil engineering, building construction, road and bridge construction, and also carpentry and plastering work. And we have different departments responsible for different matters. For instance, the vocational training department advises member companies on apprenticeship funding, supports them in recruiting young talent, providing materials for advertisement, helps them navigate the regulatory framework. And in Germany, basically all construction companies pay a fixed percentage of their gross wage bill each month into a solidarity-based fund scheme. And in return, companies providing apprenticeships receive direct reimbursement of a large proportion of the apprenticeship allowance that they pay monthly to their trainees. So let me frame the scale and the challenge of the construction sector in Germany. The sector employs around 2 million people in total, and the main sector companies number around 75,000 and employing roughly 900,000 workers. And an additional 250,000 construction trade businesses employ over 1.1 million people, and together the construction accounts for approximately 6% of Germany's gross domestic product. But here is basically the critical point, because nearly 90% of construction companies employ fewer than 20 people. So this is a sector dominated by small and medium-sized enterprises. And workforce gaps, when they appear, they are acutely felt at every level. So the skilled worker shortage is, without question, at the moment in Germany, the most urgent challenge. And it is precisely this challenge that gives us a shared stake in the question of how to train the next generation of construction workers, whether it's in Germany or in Africa or anywhere else. We, the Bauverbände, look into the sub-Saharan African regions. There are many young graduates who cannot find a good job position, and Bauverbände has been partnering with different schools. For instance, in Mozambique, we have partnered with a PASH school, and in Ethiopia, we have partnered with a TVET institution to basically identify suitable candidates or graduates, which are then matched with German construction firms in order to start an apprenticeship in Germany. And furthermore, we are part of another project, which is called the Global Skills Partnership Project between Ghana, Senegal, and Germany, where participants acquire in their home country German language skills and prior to the departure, and then follow up this by completing a full course of vocational training also in Germany. Besides that, we work with vocational college and 6 construction associations in Ethiopia to help improve the TVET system there as part of a project. It's called Vocational Education and Training Partnership between Bauverbände, NRW, and construction associations and vocational schools in Ethiopia. And we support them in preparing young people for the needs of national and international labor markets. But before proposing solutions, it is essential to understand the structural weaknesses of existing TVET system. So in this example, I'm using the African context. And what we found out is, first, that the training is way too theoretical. So TVET programs are heavily classroom-based. Trainers are often not practitioners themselves, so which creates a significant gap between what is taught and what is actually required on a construction site. Second, trainees face financial hardship. So in many contexts, trainees are forced to work alongside their TVET program simply to cover the living expenses. This severely limits the time and energy they can invest in learning. Third, there is chronic underfunding. TVET centers lack the budgets to maintain consumable materials and up-to-date equipment. So this undermines practical training quality at the most basic level. And fourth, and perhaps this is most damning, TVET graduates rarely find employment in the construction sector. So employers do not co-design curricula there and have no structural incentive to hire graduates. The result is a system that fails to deliver the output the sector needs in terms of both quality and quantity. So what does a viable alternative look like? The German dual training model is not a one-size-fits-all solution, but the logic underpinning it, combining structured workplace learning with formal education, can be translated across contexts. So Bauverbände has identified 7 key success factors for building a dual training system in Africa. And I'm just going to quickly go through them with you. So factor 1 is basically there has to be a sustainable financing system. This means training contracts and training allowances, and crucially a financing training levy channeled through a corruption-free training fund. Without this financial foundation, nothing else functions. Everything else we are going to discuss depends on this being in place. In Ethiopia, for instance, where trainees currently have to pay for their vocational training and do not receive a training allowance, we achieved that the construction associations we work with agree to a contribution of 0.35% of contractors' annual turnover into a central training fund for the funding of vocational training. And they also agreed to pay a monthly training allowance, which is then reimbursed by the fund. Similar to, which is basically similar to our, in Germany, solidarity-based vocational training scheme that we have in place here. The second factor is training incentives via public procurement. So African construction companies that participate in dual training should receive preferential treatment in public tenders. This is basically a practical low bureaucracy lever, and it gives companies a concrete commercial reason to invest in training. Factor 3 is demand-driven curricula. So curricula must be built around actual labor market needs. They must be aligned with international standards and not inherited from colonial or purely academic frameworks that have little bearing on real-site conditions. And fourth, there have to be certified in-company trainers. Certified practitioner trainers must be established both within the construction companies and the TVET colleges. So this is the structured bridge between theory and practice. And the fifth is restructuring the TVET colleges into industry-wide training centers, which is basically not just a renaming exercise. It requires genuine organizational restructuring and orienting institutions specifically toward construction-related occupations and real-site conditions. So they should offer basic training in construction trades like bricklayers, carpenters, road construction. They should offer health and safety training and technical courses on building materials, machineries, and other methods. And the idea is that while the industry-wide training centers for practical training should be will be organized on a private sector basis. The government finances the theoretical education in the vocational schools. In Senegal and Ghana, we work together with the GIZ in the Global Skills Partnership project, and there we invest in the VET infrastructure of Senegal and Ghana to develop skills creation programs for occupations that are in high demand in both countries. There we are developing a 2-track training program that includes, for instance, a home track targeting the creation of skilled workers who plan to remain in the country of origin, and an abroad track targeting those who plan to work abroad. And about half of the participants of the project would be selected for the abroad track, which includes theoretical and practical training according to the German qualification needs, and build the base for adaptation training in Germany to get the full recognition. And the 6th factor is permanent public and private dialogue. So African construction companies must be continuously involved in the development of both practical and theoretical training content, and not consulted just once at the beginning of a reform process, but embedded in the permanent stakeholders. This is a mechanism that keeps the system basically responsive and relevant. And the last factor is a simultaneous implementation. So all of the success factors I have described must operate at the same time. So partial reform produces basically partial results. So the system only works when all elements are active and aligned. That said, sequencing still matters. The financing and incentive structures must come first, because without them, companies have no structural reason to participate, and all of the other reforms remain ineffective on paper. Let me draw out the overarching lesson, basically.
Denise, excuse me, we had 2 more minutes.
Okay, that's already the last slide, so perfect. So just the overarching lesson: 4 things need to happen: secure financing, create incentives and standards, establish quality through in-company trainers or relevant curricular content, and make sure to keep a constant public-private dialogue. So no single factor is sufficient. This is in many ways the core challenge of vocational training reform. It is not just about finding one lever and pulling it. It is about building a system, and systems require coherence, commitment, and coordination across multiple actors at once. So in our example in Ethiopia, for instance, we hope to implement a system where the Ethiopian government remains responsible for theoretical training, whilst the Ethiopian construction companies are responsible for practical training at the industry-wide training centers and on-site at construction sites. So through the training fund, companies who offer apprenticeships benefit from financial relief, whilst trainees are offered genuine prospects for the future. And through international cooperation and projects like that, what we are doing right now about Verbände, we can support the local vocational schools in working out a functioning framework for a dual training system, provide them, for instance, with equipment needed to offer high quality practical training, and facilitate public-private dialogue based on our experience here in North Rhine-Westphalia or Germany. And that's everything from my side. Thanks for your attention. And if you're interested in find out more, you can always contact us. And yeah, we can also share the presentation with you. Thank you.